quick video about legalizing all drugs as a form of harm reduction. So if all drugs would be legalized and regulated, people who use drugs would have access to a clean drug supply, so we wouldn't have thousands or tens of thousands of people, dying from overdoses from a tainted drug supply as we do now. So, somebody might be thinking they're buying heroin from somebody on the street illegally, because it's obviously illegal right now, and it's end up being tainted with fentanyl, which is multiple, if not, I think maybe hundreds of times stronger or more potent than heroin, and then they end up dying as a result of that. So those deaths would go away, saving, a lot of people's lives, and then the suffering that's causes to their, families and communities as a result of those overdose deaths from tainted drugs. Additionally, by legalizing all drugs, it would reduce the stigma around drug use. So when they're ready and willing to access support and services, they would be able to do that, and there would be less stigma around that. So that would also be beneficial. Additionally, besides just the human element of it, it would save, taxpayers a lot of money and actually generate revenue, because, the war on drugs now is costing us billions of dollars a year, and we're not getting anything positive out of it. The only positives would maybe be for the police forces, who see their budgets increase, and the further militarization of the police forces, but obviously that's not, a benefit to those communities that have been ravaged by the war on drugs, particularly communities of color as well as low-income communities. And, just from the simple freedom, argument, drugs should be legalized, because we truly don't have freedom if we don't have autonomy to decide what we put into our bodies. And, if we can get locked up for putting something into our body, then we don't really have freedom, I don't believe. Because, the government shouldn't be able to dictate what we can put into our bodies and what we can't. Obviously, up to a certain extent, we can't be harming anybody else by ingesting those substances, but that's obviously, a different argument or position. But everybody, in my opinion, should be able to use whatever substance they want, as long as they're not, harming anybody else, by doing that. So by legalizing all drugs, we would save, thousands or tens of thousands of lives, more likely. We would also, reduce our huge bloated prison population that is usually filled with nonviolent drug offenders. And then, we would reduce the stigma around it, so people would have access to support and services. They may be more likely to engage in those if drugs would be made legalized, as well as the simple, point that we should be free to, put into our bodies what we want, and the government shouldn't be able to put people, lock them up in cages for, ingesting, whatever substance you want, whatever it is. So it just makes sense from every level, as well as, this, it would save a lot of money as well, and we could use that, for a lot better purposes, instead of putting people in cages for nonviolent drug offenses. So legalization as a form of harm reduction, and it just, makes sense on so many other levels. Peace.